Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen was born on November 16, 1986, in New Hyde Park, New York, to Afghan immigrants who had pieced together a life in the United States after the upheavals of the Soviet-Afghan War. A childhood framed by a father with outsized political ambition and a mother intent on keeping the family afloat. And from the start his world was a mesh of expectations and dissonance. Dari spoken at home, American TV humming in the background, religious customs rubbing against suburban permissiveness, praise alternating with criticism, pride in Afghan identity running parallel to the pressure to blend in. When the family moved south to Port St. Lucie, Florida, the suburban sameness of cul-de-sacs and strip malls gave him safety and anonymity, yet in school he became conspicuous for the wrong reasons. A boy whose sarcasm could turn cruel, whose temper changed the temperature of a room, who postured his way through discomfort with jokes that landed like jabs, and who, according to those who crossed paths with him in hallways and classrooms, seemed to oscillate between wanting to be feared and wanting to be respected. Teachers noted defiance, classmates remembered bravado, and the adults who tried to redirect him felt the brittle combination of insecurity and swagger that hardened as he grew older. He graduated high school in 2004 with a transcript that spoke to completion more than distinction, the sort of file that suggests a young man marching forward because the calendar demanded it, not because the path ahead was clear. In the years that followed, he tried to graft an identity onto himself through proximity to uniforms and authority. He enrolled at Indian River State College and completed an associate degree in criminal justice technology, a credential that let him imagine the badge and the belt and the aura of command without yet earning them. He tried on roles the way other people try on clothes. A correctional officer trainee, an applicant to law enforcement academies, a man rehearsing the language and posture of officialdom even as the evaluations and observations from supervisors and peers returned to the same refrain. He was volatile, he exaggerated, he rubbed people the wrong way. When those doors failed to open, he found a different, easier-to-obtain version of authority in private security work and in 2007, joined G4S Secure Solutions. A uniform and a post gave him status, routine, and a reason to be near the tools of enforcement. Coworkers described a colleague who acted larger than his role, a man who sometimes hinted he was more connected than he was, talked about terrorism in ways that seemed part provocation and part self-mythologizing, and who could shift from charm to contempt with little warning. Complaints surfaced over time, about comments, about attitude, about inappropriate claims. But large companies move slowly and he remained in place, clocking in and out, carrying a firearm for work, telling stories that stretched truth to the tearing point. His personal life followed a similar pattern of performative normalcy skinned over unstable dynamics. In 2009 he married Sitora Yusufi, and what looked like a straightforward young marriage metastasized into a relationship she later described as controlling and violent. He isolated, he berated, he seized control of money and movement until her family intervened and she left, a flight that ended with divorce less than a year after vows. He was the kind of man who wanted the social proof of a wife and the domestic tableau of a home, and later, in 2011 he married Noor Salman. A son followed in 2013, and in photos he could look like a dutiful father holding a toddler at a birthday party, yet behind closed doors the mix of belittling behavior, sudden absences, and ominous talk kept the relationship off balance. And amid those domestic scenes his inner life ran on contradictory fuels. The masculine performance of dominance and control, a roiling frustration at not being recognized as important, and a searching curiosity that trawled the internet for meaning, whether in the bodybuilding bravado of gun culture or in the grandiose certainties of extremist propaganda. He watched, clicked, and scrolled, sampling ideologies like a buffet, sometimes speaking admiringly of groups that hated each other, borrowing slogans and grievances without integrating them into a coherent worldview, the way an insecure mind stitches together a costume from mismatched cloth. His name brushed the FBI's attention twice before the catastrophe that would sear it into public memory. In 2013, coworkers reported remarks that sounded like flirtation with terrorism. Agents interviewed him, checked, watched, and ultimately closed the inquiry when nothing actionable presented itself. One more loud man who liked to needle and boast, not a suspect with demonstrable ties. In 2014 his name surfaced again because he had a loose acquaintance with Moner Mohammed Abu Salha, a Florida man who later died in a suicide bombing in Syria. Investigators again found no evidence of conspiracy or material support, and again the file closed. The pattern was becoming tragically familiar. Smoke that looked like showmanship, signals that mimicked red flags but dissolved under scrutiny. A man skating along the line between attention-seeking and something darker without, at that time, stepping across it in a way that the system could hold. Across these same years, rumors and recollections formed around his nightlife and desires. Some people said they had seen him in Orlando's gay clubs. Some recalled drinks and awkward passes. Others, including federal investigators much later, said those accounts failed to translate into corroborated evidence and that phone and data records did not support a secret gay life. The contradiction itself became part of the story. Whether he was a closeted man who loathed his reflection in the joy of others or a man who scouted spaces with an eye for target density, whether his cruelty was aimed outward because of who he was or who he feared he might be. Even his ideological statements would later wobble. Allegiances declared in a 911 call that mixed enemies and causes, a pastiche of grievance strapped to a private engine of rage that had been idling for years. The night of June 11th into the early morning of June 12, 2016, unfolded in Orlando as nights often do in a city of hospitality. Music, sweat, happy bodies, that shared urban heartbeat when a club hits its stride after midnight. Pulse, a popular gay nightclub, was hosting a Latin night, and in the crowded rooms the weekend was peaking. Friends texting arrivals and departures, bartenders working fast, DJs keeping a floor stitched together with rhythm, people who had worked all week saying their names out loud by dancing. Sometime after 2 a.m., the man who had spent so long rehearsing power walked toward the door with a semi-automatic rifle and a handgun, started shooting, and turned ordinary joy into a catastrophe measured by screams and the thud of bodies hitting tile. At first some thought the pops were part of the music, a confusion that often attends the first seconds of mass violence. That illusion broke at once as shards and blood and the smell of gunpowder made reality impossible to deny. People bolted for exits and ducked behind bars and crawled into bathrooms and storerooms, calling 911 with shaking hands, whispering to dispatchers while trying not to make a sound that might betray them. Off-duty law enforcement at the club engaged and forced a temporary retreat deeper inside. Police converged, sirens multiplied. What began as a rampage became a siege. In the pause between bursts of gunfire and shouted commands, some patrons texted families and lovers, messages that are now part of memorials. "I love you, I'm scared, tell mom." String lights of language across the distance between club and home. As the clock crept past 2:30 a.m., he called 911 and declared fealty to extremist causes with the incoherence of a man pulling familiar names off a shelf to justify what he was already doing, invoking groups with conflicting aims and citing grievances like the wars in Iraq and Syria, claiming retaliation as if it could launder the murder of strangers. Negotiators spoke with him by phone. Hostages huddled in bathrooms and alcoves, some bleeding, some trying to stop bleeding with clothing and paper towels, some listening to the breathing of friends to know who was still alive. Outside, a command post grew, lights washing the facade of the club, radios chattering, medics preparing triage zones, trauma surgeons paged in the middle of the night. Tactical leaders had to work a problem no one wants to face. A gunman mobile inside a maze-like building with hostages pinned down, the risk calculus between immediate assault and deliberate planning, the ambient dread that more shots could mean more deaths if they moved too slowly and that a hasty breach could trigger slaughter if they moved too fast. Those hours stretched, an elastic band pulled toward breaking, while SWAT mapped options and the shooter spoke to dispatchers with the strange mix of bravado and fatalism that often marks people who have decided to die. Just after 5 a.m. the decision point arrived. Explosives were used to breach an outer wall to create an escape route. An armored vehicle smashed through to open space. Officers flowed in as patrons scrambled out, and in the violent seconds that followed a gunfight ended the life that had ended so many others. The standoff gave way to the frantic work of sorting survivors from the dead, of carrying people to waiting ambulances, of strangers turning belts and shirts into tourniquets, of medics performing battlefield triage in a parking lot under floodlights. Orlando Regional Medical Center, a short drive away, received wave after wave of patients. Surgeons and nurses and techs worked in a controlled storm of blood and decision-making. Operating rooms flipped and refilled, corridors lined with families who had sprinted from beds to hospital floors, asking for names and descriptions, handing over photos, begging for certainty. By morning, the tally came into view: 49 people murdered and 53 wounded, making it, at that moment in American history, the deadliest mass shooting by a single gunman, a wound to the LGBTQ+ community and to the city that would radiate grief across the world. In the days that followed, the nation learned the names, faces, and stories of those who had been lost, a roll call of lives that replaced the abstraction of victims, with the specific gravity of individuals whose laughter lived in the memories of friends, whose playlists still sat on phones, whose work badges still hung on rearview mirrors. Vigils filled parks and plazas. Candles pooled wax on sidewalks. Rainbow flags rose and drooped in humid Florida air. Strangers stood shoulder to shoulder in silence longer than speeches. The club itself became a shrine of flowers and photographs, a place where the city's daily traffic slowed and people left handwritten notes and folded paper cranes. Blood drives surged with donors and funds formed to help the wounded and the families of the dead bridge the chasm between ordinary expenses and catastrophic ones. Pastors and drag performers and trauma therapists took turns at microphones and in counseling rooms, stitching together a communal answer to the question of what to do when the unthinkable has already happened. The investigatory aftermath attempted to make a coherent narrative out of fragments. Agents sifted through his devices and history, tracing purchases and movements, reconstructing the days and weeks before the attack. They tracked weapons and ammunition acquired legally, looked at searches and maps, and found that he had toyed with other targets before settling on Pulse, a choice that merged accessibility, symbolism, and capacity for harm. The ideological components of his motive remained as jagged and contradictory as his earlier statements. He cast his violence as retaliation for U.S. actions abroad while also telegraphing the kind of personal grievance and identity turmoil that make extremist branding attractive to men who want their smallness to feel like significance. The LGBTQ+ community bore the brunt, whether or not he had been struggling with his own sexuality. Queer joy was the space he chose to contaminate, and the people he killed were dancing, one of the most human acts of free expression, and that fact, more than his self-serving phone calls, became the moral center of how the country remembered the night. His family's orbit became part of the public story. His father's public persona, homegrown political videos, sweeping statements about foreign affairs, invited scrutiny that mixed tabloid curiosity with legitimate questions about influence and awareness, though nothing in that swirl untied the knot of why his son did what he did. His wife, Noor Salman, faced federal charges, allegations that she aided and abetted and misled investigators, and the trial forced the country to look at the interior of a household marked by control and fear. Prosecutors argued she had known more than she admitted. The defense argued she was a victim of manipulation who lacked specific knowledge of his plan. After weeks of testimony, a jury acquitted her in 2018, a verdict that closed a legal chapter but did not quiet the noise of opinions. For survivors and families of the dead, it was another moment when the law's definitions brushed against the rawness of grief and did not map cleanly onto it. Law enforcement agencies conducted their own after-action reviews, examining the tactical decisions made between 2 a.m. and the breach a little after 5 a.m., balancing the risks of a mobile shooter against the dangers to hostages, acknowledging the impossibility of perfect choices in a building architecture that trapped people while complicating intervention. Doctors published accounts of the medical response that underscored how trauma systems can bend without breaking, how rapidly coordinated surgery schedules, blood supply management, and cross-departmental mobilization can convert potential fatalities into survivors. City leaders worked with victims' families to shape memorials that felt worthy. Temporary installations at first, then the slow, careful planning toward a permanent national memorial and museum that could hold both sorrow and testimony. The name, Pulse, changed from a nightlife brand to a symbol of resilience and remembrance. The logo that once advertised a dance floor began to stand for those who never made it home. The policy debates that always come next in America came next here too, accelerated and inflamed by the attack's particular intersections. Gun law advocates and opponents argued with familiar ferocity. Counterterrorism analysts parsed his statements and online activity to think about self-radicalization in the algorithmic age. Hate crime researchers documented the specific harms to LGBTQ+ people and the chilling effect of violence on queer public life. Civil libertarians revisited questions about surveillance thresholds when the same person has twice been investigated and twice closed out. The lawsuits and motions that accompany mass atrocities threaded through courts. Claims filed against platforms, against employers, against the city. Some dismissed, some settled, most of them expressing through legalese The human desire to assign responsibility in a world where causation is messy and moral accountability does not always align with legal liability. If you widen the lens to include the quiet details that never make headlines, the story becomes paradoxically even more minute. The roommate who replayed old conversations for months wondering what he missed. The EMS worker who, unprompted, has to pull over when a certain song from that summer comes on the radio. The bartender who still keeps an extra first aid kit under the counter now, because muscle memory has a way of making rituals out of fear. The mother who cannot make herself delete the last voicemail because it is sound, proof that a voice existed. The survivor who switches seats in restaurants to keep sightlines on exits, then later, years later, finds herself laughing in a room and realizes she forgot to check and that this too is a milestone. The shooter's life ends. The victims' lives are honored. The city moves forward while also in a sacred geography of grief, staying forever partly in the minutes between 2 and 5 a.m. when the world tilted and the ordinary privilege of dancing in public was stolen by a man who wrapped personal rage in borrowed ideology. Omar Mateen's full story, when told to the maximum permissible detail without straying into the kind of operational specifics that glorify or instruct, is the story of a boy who grew into a man whose hunger for dominance, affirmation, and narrative meaning outpaced his empathy and judgment, who used the costume of authority because he could not earn its substance, who learned that allegiance to a violent idea could perform the miracle of making his grievances feel cosmic, and who then walked into a space created for freedom and belonging and shattered it. The counterstory, the one that finally matters, is the web of names and faces who filled Pulse that night and the concentric circles of people who love them still, the clinicians and officers and dispatchers who turned chaos into care under impossible pressure, and the community that first bent toward one another in shock and then straightened with the stubborn resolve to memorialize joy without yielding to fear.
And you get a copy of that, so then somebody can go through and get the facts for us. Hello? Hi there, this is Orlando Police calling you back. Okay, I'm sorry again. My name's Andy. What's yours?
Andy.
Okay, tell me what's going on there right now, because I'm not there. I'm trying to help you.
We're on the phone. Wait, that's us.
Okay, I'm trying to help you. Tell me what's going on right now.
Sorry, you guys
I don't want to see anybody get injured, including you. So let's start. Are you injured? Sir, are you injured? I'm trying to help you. I don't want to see this go further. Please let us peacefully resolve it with your assistance. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? This is Andy from Orlando Police. Are you there?
I mean to pull up the recording.
That way that we handle and let either Sergeant Capiche or Mike Mastrangelo listen to it, but we're going to need obvious. Capiche over there, Strangle over there. Thank you. You got him?
iPhone's disabled. Try again in 1 minute.
That's who we think.
Mateen, Omar. Amir's, can you start the Google Doc? I don't know how, but I know that.
Please leave your message for 772.
I don't think so. I think we're gonna put that in. We're gonna put that to the input.
Yeah, we'll put it in the command.
We'll put it in the command.
We can't verify that yet. All we know is subscriber info.
Ringing.
Please leave your message for 77.
Oh, he needs... No, thank you.
I'm still not convinced this guy's in there.
I mean, it's almost worth a tonic calling him over to see if he acknowledges it.
He picks up and goes, "Hey, it's Andy. Omar. Not can I call you? I'm just going to tell him."
Please leave your message for 7.
I'm turning my radio off. Turning my volume down. I knew there was a reason I never wanted to work post.
Please leave your message.
Are you scribing at this point? I'm just gonna doodle as is.
Master Angelo is going to go have them try to make contact at that Fort Pierce address. Okay. Have to send somebody over there. Find out what Flores has seen. Everybody else is not here. That's responding is going to the truck except for me. Okay. After that, we'll probably send him back.
If he picks up, I'm just gonna call him over. Hello, Omar. This is Andy from Orlando Police.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what's going on right now, Omar.
Yo, the airstrike that killed Abu Wahib a few weeks ago,
Yes, sir.
that's what triggered it, okay?
Okay,
Okay? They shouldn't have bombed and killed Abu Wahib, okay?
I understand.
And do your fucking homework and figure out who Abu Wahib is, okay?
I understand that. What I want to find out is, are you injured? Omar. Well, I understand that, but if you're injured, I want to get you some help.
No.
Okay, do you have somebody with you?
None of your business.
Okay, tell me what you want me to pass along. 'Cause I can't sit here and do research. I want to pass along. Tell them to stop bombing in Syria.
Yes, the airstrikes need to stop. Stop collaborating with Russia, okay?
Okay, I can pass that along.
And let it be known, in the next few days, you're going to see more of this type of action going on, okay?
Okay, I understand that. I can pass that along. Where is that going to happen?
None of your business. Just let it be known it's going to be done in the name of the Islamic State. Even though it's not fucking airstrikes, it's fucking strikes here, okay?
I understand that. So tell me what happened tonight. How did this go down for you?
This went down. A lot of innocent women and children are getting killed in Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan, okay?
I understand that. You're upset about the bombing in Syria and Afghanistan, and you want the bombing and the killing to stop. I understand your concern. I share that concern. I want to pass your message along. Tell me what else you'd like me to pass along, please.
To stop. Tell them to stop.
I will do that. I will do that. So can you tell me how we can peacefully resolve this tonight? I'd like to see you come out. I'd like to talk to you some more.
Tell the airstrikes need to stop.
I'm doing that. I'm passing that message along. Immediately.
You see? Now you feel how it is.
I understand your concern, Omar. Do you have somebody that you brought with you that we need to check on to make sure they're not injured?
No, none of your, no, Mr. Hostage negotiator, no, don't play no bullshit with me.
Well, I'm trying to help you. And you don't want people to get injured. I presume that means if you brought somebody with you, you don't want them hurt. Is that correct?
None of your business, homeboy.
Okay. Omar, can I get you to come outside and talk to my people there at the scene so we can peacefully resolve this?
No.
Okay? Because I'm not there, but I have people there that would love to talk to you. Can you put down your weapon and come down outside and talk to them, please?
You want to know what type of weapon I have, too?
If you want to tell me.
Or you want to know how many weapons I have?
I can take that, too. I'm all ears, Omar. I have no agenda other than to help you and pass along this message.
So what year did you graduate from the police academy?
I'm sorry?
What year did you graduate from the police academy?
So this is about you, okay? I'm here to help you. I'm here to pass along your information, okay? You don't want to know ancient history about me. Tell me how I can help you. You asked me, do I want to know about weapons? Sure, tell me about your weapons. Omar, I'm trying to help you. I can't do that if you won't give me something to pass along to the people that are in power, which is, I presume, what you want to happen out of all of this. I don't want to see you or any of your associates get hurt, and I don't want to see anybody else get hurt in the United States or anywhere else around the world. So tell me how you and I can work together to get this peacefully resolved now. Omar. Omar, you got to talk to me. Omar. Listen to me. I don't want to see you get injured. Omar, can you hear me? Are you there? Omar. You and I have to talk. We have to work together. Omar, I need to pass along what your concerns are.
He has not said anything about. He said the bomb.
Omar.
In the cars in the parking lot. He's not confirming anything.
And he said I'm wearing a vest, but he didn't go into a dress vest, a bulletproof vest, or a bomb vest. That's all I got. When we questioned him on it, he shut down. Ringing. I got 0315. Yep. I'm sorry. I'll just say that on the tape. If you need more paper. Huh?
We think so. We called him Omar, and he did not. He didn't deny. He didn't even blink. Is he back off?
Yeah, he's off again.
Ring.
Please leave your message for...
He told us.
I tried that off the bat. He sounds like he's in a very sterile environment, like he's at home in an apartment.
I don't hear anybody. Maybe in an office.
Could be.
Maybe in a bathroom.
Could be.
He said, "Do you want to?"
Please leave your message for...
0316.
I have the singular, and then he said, "For how many?" And Andy tried it.
For what kind? Ringing. 0316. One ring.
Oh, it's
Omar. Listen, this is Andy from the police again. I don't want to mess up your message. You come out and you can tell it yourself. I'll arrange media or whatever you want. It's got to be a first step.
With your annoying a lot of these phone calls, I call you when I feel comfortable.
Well, I understand that, but obviously, it's my job. I need to be in contact with you. I'm your communication lifeline to everyone that's outside. I'm trying to pass along your message, and I don't want to screw that message up. You tell me you don't want people to get hurt? I presume that includes you. Tell me your message, and I will pass that along. You don't want the bombing. Tell me about it. I'll write it down. Omar, please talk to me. I want to get your message out. I want to pass along what you have to say. I can't do that if you won't talk to me.
He's probably not going to be a phone.
Hang up 317, going right back in at the same time. Says you're annoying me with these calls. We're going to keep calling. It's only a voice we got. Can we verify? Getting ready to ring. Ringing now.
He hung up again. No. When he asked him, do you have somebody in there with him? He says, that's none of your business.
Well, that's hot that he's on the phone.
No.
Please leave your message for 77.
Stuttered for a second, and he goes, that's...
Voicemail 318, hang up, redial, same time. Can we get Jerome to ping and make sure this is actually...
Yeah. You want to see if he wants to get Jerome?
Please leave your message for...
Which is not...
Ringing 319, hang up and redial. That showed up there. I don't know. Is that Mike's handwriting, I think?
No, that's Jamie's.
Please leave your message for 77.